My name is Alice. Who hasn't gone through difficult times? My dad was everything to me and my rock. It's just the two of us against the world, ever since Mom died when I was a tiny child. He constantly emphasized the value of education and did his best to save every penny I needed to pursue my college education. He would give me a wink and tell me, "You're going to make it, kiddo," while continuing to add small amounts of money to our tattered college fund jar. I gave him credence. Above all, I had faith in us. I enrolled at the nearby community college after high school with the goal of becoming well known in the investment management industry. I got to know Tom there. He was affable and disheveled, exuding a fresh out-of-bed charm that somehow did wonders on me. He belonged to my cohort. We hit it off right away, exchanging glances over lukewarm cafeteria coffee and laughs between lectures. Then the floor gave way under me. Dad died suddenly, without any prior notice. Our financial security vanished as well, like a house of cards in a breeze. The college money proved to be more wishful than practical. In addition to missing Dad and his advice, I had to come to terms with the fact that my time as a college student was running out. With perseverance and scraps, I made it through my first year, but as the money dried up, I had to drop out. The flat, a modest 3-bedroom in a dilapidated area of town, was Dad's gift to me. Though little, it was home. On a cold evening, Tom arrived at the apartment with his hand tucked into the pockets of his faded pants. With a glance around the room where the wallpaper was softly peeling at the corners, he said, "You live here alone, Alice?" "Yeah, just me now," I answered, attempting to tamp down a particularly disobedient wallpaper strip. "It's not much, but it's what I've got." After observing me for a while, he moved in closer and clasped my hands. "Alice, let's get married. I want to look after you. Here, let's begin our lives together." Yes, it was abrupt, but why start now when nothing in my life had ever been planned? I said, "Okay, Tom," and it felt appropriate. Our wait was short. With only a few people present, the wedding took place at City Hall and was as simple as they come. Tom's parents failed to appear. They had never really liked me. They'd whispered that I was too plain and that I couldn't hear them. It stung that none of us did. However, Tom returned the squeeze, whispering, "I love you. That is all that is important." We strolled back to my, now our, apartment after the ceremony. The sidewalk was covered in deep shadows by the late afternoon sun. Tom broke open a bottle of the least expensive champagne available at the corner store and gave each of us a shaky glass filled with frothy goodness. To us, he raised his glass in salute. With a taste of promise and fresh starts, the champagne fizzed on my tongue as I repeated the toast. I had a deal with Tom. As I settled the invoices, he would focus on the books. After he finished college, it would be my chance to pursue the degree I abandoned when life became too difficult. Easy enough, huh? Though nothing is ever so simple. So's what I also thought. I had 2 jobs. During the day, I worked as a grocery store cashier, where I had to cope with long lineups and occasionally late customers. At night, I changed into a waitress uniform and worked as a server at a nearby diner, where I served late-night drifters and truckers lousy burgers and lukewarm coffee. Even though it was exhausting, I persevered because I knew that one day I would return through those college doors. Tom, on the other hand, claimed to be knee-deep in his studies. But as they did, so did his demands. "When is dinner, Alice?" He would always grumble as soon as I dragged my tired body through the door. "I can't eat this fast food crap anymore. I need something decent, like Mom used to make." I would throw my keys on the table and bite back my irritated, tired rage. Tom, you should try cooking it yourself. I'm not your mother. He would frown and avert his eyes. My goal in learning is to succeed in life. The very least you could do was have a tidy home. His words would ignite a fire in my chest, slicing through my fatigue. However, I would eat the response, worried about the rift it may create in our already brittle accord. Tom's folks weren't very helpful. Compared to my diner-stained clothing and high school certificate, they were well-educated and polished. They hardly ever acknowledged me. And when they did, it was always with a sly smile or a barely concealed criticism. If you had completed your schooling, my love, Tom's mother would say, drinking her expertly prepared tea and peering over the rims of her glasses. Tom just nodded along, taking in their comments as if they were gospel, without even defending myself. He would spend evenings there more and more, running away from our small apartment and all of the obligations that came with it. Tom dropped another blow one evening while I was cleaning the grease from the diner under my fingernails. I'm spending the night with my parents, require a decent night's sleep, and a genuine study space. I may have slammed the bathroom cupboard a little too hard. Fine, do what you got to do. The words were piercing, stinging with all the things I was unable to express. I took comfort in my rituals as the days stretched into months. My occupation's monotonous duties helped me to forget about my growing difficulties at home. I went through the processes like a robot, scanning the objects, grinning, serving meals, cleaning up, rinsing, and repeating. After a very long night, I arrived home to find my apartment empty. Not sorry, Tom, just a note. A way to study. Ensure that tomorrow's dinner is prepared. I creased the message, the sheet severing in my hand. I gave myself a moment, alone myself in the dark light of our kitchen, to truly feel everything. The weariness, the loneliness, the boiling rage. I closed my eyes and leaned against the counter, trying not to cry aloud, but letting a silent one slip out. Eventually, Tom graduated after years of working 2 jobs and watched himself lose himself in his books. The news that Tom had almost instantly been hired by a prestigious company was a breath of fresh air in our otherwise stressful existence. Compared to my nightly tips at the cafe, his new employment came with a paycheck that felt like a lottery win. I remember sitting across from him at our small kitchen table one evening, the excitement bubbling up inside me. So with your new job, I was thinking it might be time for me to cut back at work and start looking at programs, to pick up where I left off. Tom didn't look up from his plate. Alice, we can't afford that. Every penny has to be accounted for. And with the way things are, you know how tight the budget is. His fork clattered against the plate, a harsh sound that matched his words. I leaned back, my heart sinking, but not yet defeated. I could keep one job, maybe just the day shifts. We'd still have a steady income, and I could manage night classes. He shook his head, his voice firm and dismissive. Just forget about college, Alice. We need stability, not more debts. It's not practical. The conversation ended there, but the argument continued in my head for days. Before I could press the issue further, I found out I was pregnant. Our daughter, Lily, became my new priority, and college faded into the background, a dream dissolved. Raising Lily was a joy, but it was also another chain tying me to routines and responsibilities I hadn't chosen alone. I continued working at the grocery store, my dreams shelved like the products I stocked. Tom's criticisms didn't stop with my shelved education. They seeped into my parenting. You're not doing it right, Alice. She needs to learn proper manners. Not whatever it is you're trying to teach her. Tom would say, barely looking up from his phone. I remember holding Lily close, whispering promises to her that I'd begun to doubt I could keep. It's okay, baby. Mommy's here. As Lily grew, Tom's parents became more involved. Their influence overshadowed mine. They paid for a fancy preschool, and every school event was an exhibition of their grandparental pride. One evening, Tom clearly explained a new rule. Alice, it's best if you don't come to the school events. The teachers, they have a certain expectation of family. We can't ruin Lily's opportunities. I felt the sting of those words, a slap dressed up as paternal concern. So what am I supposed to do? Just stay home and pretend I don't have a daughter who's growing up, learning things I'm not teaching her, becoming someone I barely know. It's for the best, was all he said, his indifference the final nail in the coffin of our once shared dreams. The years twisted along, and Tom's words had weight. Not the kind that anchors you in safety, but the kind that pulls you under. His sharp commands to our daughter, Lily, left marks, teaching her lessons of disrespect and disdain toward me, our mother. Don't bother telling her what to do. She listens to me, not you. It's for her own good. Tom snapped one evening when I suggested Lily might set the table. In front of Lily, his words were always like this. I watched, heart sinking, as my little girl's eyes hardened to match her father's. You don't know anything, Mom. Lily would toss at me when I asked for help around the house, her tone mimicking her father's, each word a barb. I tried to reach her, to bridge the widening gap with mother-daughter chats, but she only pulled further away, retreating to a world where I couldn't follow, a world painted by Tom and his parents. One humiliating afternoon brought everything painfully into focus. Lily had friends over, laughter and light voices echoing down the hallway of our home. I was cleaning when I bumped into them in the hall. Lily froze, her eyes darting between me and her friends. I smiled, wiping my hands on my apron, about to say hello, but before the words could form, Lily cut in. Oh, this is just our housekeeper. Her friends nodded, barely giving me a second glance as they shuffled past into Lily's immaculately kept room, off limits to the likes of me. The door clicked shut, and the muffled bursts of teenage giggles were like needles to my chest. I retreated to the kitchen, sinking against the fridge as tears betrayed my resolve not to let this break me. I was her mother, not some dismissed servant in my own home. That evening, I confronted Tom, my voice shaking but firm. How can you let her, our daughter, treat me like this? Today, she called me the housekeeper. In our home. Tom didn't look up from his paper. Maybe if you didn't look the part, she'd respect you more. You're always cleaning, always in those rags. What do you expect? His words stung, slicing through whatever defenses I had left. I'm trying, Tom. I'm trying to make this a home. But you and your parents, you're teaching her to hate me. He scoffed, folding his newspaper with precision. Alice, you need to stop being so sensitive. She's growing up in a different world than you did. She needs to fit in. Nights turned restless, my thoughts spiraling. Tom's distancing, the casual cruelty of his parents, and now Lily's rejection painted a stark picture. I was an outsider in my own life, my role diminished to that of a silent provider, unseen and unappreciated. As I watched Lily grow into a teenager, her embarrassment of me became more pronounced. Her comments about my outdated clothes and simple manners cut deeper because they echoed Tom's words. She was ashamed to be seen with me, her mother, who had sacrificed everything only to be rendered invisible. Turning 37 wasn't supposed to be a milestone. but I had hoped it would be a turning point for something better, something kinder. With a heart full of tentative hope, I'd booked a table at a nice restaurant downtown. It was a small celebration, just me, Tom, and Lily. Nothing fancy, but something to maybe, just maybe, bring us back together for a night. I got home from work, my spirits buoyed by the thought of a quiet dinner with my family. The apartment was quiet when I walked in, too quiet. Tom and Lily were sitting in the living room, their faces turned towards the TV, looking like they were braced for bad news. "Hey, I got a surprise," I said. I'd booked us a table at Marcelo's for dinner to celebrate my birthday, just the three of us. My voice was bright, forcing cheerfulness into the edges of my exhaustion. Tom turned off the TV and looked at me, an eyebrow raised, a smirk playing at the corner of his lips. "Alice, seriously, you think we want to go out and celebrate with you? A dropout? What would we even talk about?" Tom's words were casual, but they cut deep, his smirk turning into a sneer. "Yeah, Mom, it's kind of embarrassing. You wouldn't even know which fork to use," Lily added, her words echoing her father's disdain. I felt my face flush, the sting of their words like a slap. "I just thought we could be a family for tonight," I said. Tom laughed, a harsh, mocking sound. "A family with you making a fool of yourself? No thanks. Actually, here's my gift to you." He stood up, walked over to his briefcase, and pulled out an envelope, tossing it onto the coffee table with a dramatic flourish. Confused, I picked it up, my hands trembling. It was a divorce application. This is your gift." "Yeah. Consider yourself free from us. We're done, Alice. I'm taking Lily, and we're moving out. You can keep this place," he said, his words cold and calculated. Lily just nodded, standing up to join her father. "I'd rather live with Dad. I can't be seen with you, Mom. It's just too embarrassing." They packed up their things with chilling efficiency. I watched, frozen, as my world was dismantled piece by piece. Not just the physical pieces of our lives, but the last vestiges of any affection, any pretense of a relationship. They left without a goodbye, the door closing with a soft click that echoed like a gunshot in the empty apartment. The divorce proceedings were quick, clinical, and brutal. Tom's parents testified about my inadequacies, painting me as an uneducated, unfit mother in stark, unforgiving strokes. Even Lily spoke, her voice steady, her words rehearsed. "I want to live with my dad. He's better for me." Sitting there in that sterile courtroom, listening to the litany of my supposed failures, I felt something inside me break, or maybe it was something coming together, a realization hardening into resolve. They were all strangers. Their words were no longer capable of wounding me as they once had. I was alone, truly alone. But perhaps that was the freedom I needed. I knew one thing for sure. I needed to prove, if to no one else but myself, that I was capable of much more. That burning resolve led me back to the doors of the college I had left years ago. I enrolled again, older than most of my classmates, and with a fierceness in me that only life's hard knocks can bestow. I hired tutors, spending evenings grappling with investment theories and financial models, my eyes blurred from the strain. Social media was a minefield, though every so often, a photo of Tom, Lily, and that woman, Tom's new partner, would pop up. They looked happy, carefree, living it up in some swanky downtown apartment that screamed luxury. The sting of seeing them so blissful while I was over here piecing myself back together was sharp. But instead of letting it drag me down, I used it as fuel. Each picture, each post pushed me harder. I channeled my anger, my hurt into my studies, turning bitterness into a motivator. Graduation day came, and I was a different woman from the one who had started. You've got what it takes, Alice. Don't let anyone tell you differently, my favorite professor, Dr. Henson, told me during our final meeting. His words were a balm to the raw edges of my pride. With his recommendation, I landed a position at a respected firm, stepping into the world of finance with a determination to rise. The corporate world was another battlefield, but one I was now well equipped to navigate. I started as just another employee, but not for long. Within 3 years, I climbed from the ground floor to department head, my name on an office door, my decisions shaping the company's future. Alongside my career, I revamped my life. I traded my old battered car for something sleek and new, something that hummed under my touch like a promise. My apartment followed, from modest to modern, a high rise with views of the city that twinkled like the stars I was reaching for. Shopping for new clothes wasn't just about style. It was about armor. Each piece, whether a sharp suit or a sleek dress, was chosen to project the new me, the competent, capable businesswoman. My hair, once always pulled back in a practical ponytail, now fell in stylish waves or was pinned up in chic designs that said I cared about every detail. Only my closest friends knew the extent of my transformation. You're doing what you were meant to do, Alice. It's like you finally found your stage. My friend Jenna told me over coffee one day, her eyes wide as she took in the changes. Yeah, I guess I have, I said, sipping my espresso. Tom and Lily and all the pain associated with them faded into the background, becoming just a part of my story, not the defining chapter. There I was, browsing job listings late one night, when I stumbled across an opening that made my heart skip a beat. A department head position at none other than the company where my ex-husband Tom worked. I applied, half out of a deep-seated need to prove myself, half out of the sheer audacity of it all. The interview was next week. I walked in with all the confidence of a woman who had nothing to lose and everything to prove. The interviewers were a panel of 3, each more impressed than the last as we discussed everything from market trends to financial strategies. By the end, they seemed genuinely excited about what I could bring to the table. Well, Alice, I must say it's refreshing to see such a clear vision and detailed knowledge. We'd be lucky to have you on board, the senior interviewer remarked, a genuine smile spreading across his face. Thank you. I'm ready to hit the ground running, I replied, my tone steady, my resolve firmer than ever. Meeting my new team and getting to know them made my first day seem like something from a movie. Until Tom's face appeared, the room was full with kind smiles and courteous applause. The look of horror on his face was enough to power the metropolis for several hours. With his mouth hanging open and eyes wide, he appeared as though he had seen a ghost. Mr. Reynolds, the company's head, appeared to find the situation humorous. Placing a hand on my shoulder, he said, I expect everyone to give Alice all the support she needs. Our reputation is excellent, and I have no doubt that she will take this department to new heights. Tom answered in a less than courteous manner. As the room cleared, he stormed up to Mr. Reynolds, his voice low but angry. I submitted my application for the position. For what reason did she get it? What is it that she has that I don't? With a raised eyebrow, Mr. Reynolds looked at Tom and then at me. Tom, merit was the only factor considered when making the decision. Alice has a far better vision for the department and far more qualifications than you have. She might impart a wealth of knowledge to you. Ask her for advice. Is this a prank of some kind? I take it? Tom raised his voice and growled. Tom, I'm not kidding. Mr. Reynolds responded calmly. I suggest you change your attitude and concentrate on your own responsibilities. Tom, humiliated, did something out of the ordinary. He left after complaining about his stupid boss and tossing his ID badge on the table. Mr. Reynolds shook his head and sighed as he watched Tom leave. I'm sorry to Alice for that. This is entirely my fault from now on. Why don't you immediately organize your team? A tiny, satisfied smile played at the corner of my lips as I nodded and watched Tom move down the hallway. I thought his furious steps were lovely music. Later, I overheard Mr. Reynolds conversing on the phone. Yes, he did really resign. Not after this, please. I cannot recommend him in a positive light. The rest of the day went by fast with planning meetings and introductions. But all the while, one thought remained in my mind. Justice, in its own twisted way, had been served. Like most of the time, Tom had miscalculated me. But this time, I had won. Faster than I could have imagined, Tom stormed out of the office that day, and his career took a severe turn for the worse. Rumors circulated among mutual friends, excited to tell me about Tom's latest lover kicking him and Lily out of her lavish home. In despair, they were compelled to return to living with Tom's parents. I could not help but note the decline of the powerful. Lily, a college student at the time, knocked on my door during this stormy time, demanding as she had always been raised. She blew a little, quiet whistle. Mom, you truly got better? Whoa. I suppose your decision to dump Dad was successful. She spoke in a calm tone, but there was a trace of severity that had me on edge. What brings you here, Lily? I asked. She entered casually and took a seat on my opulent couch, as if she were the owner. Well, I noticed that you're rich, fashionable, and smart today, and that things are a little tight at Grandpa's. Maybe I could move in here. However, clearly, I would require a sizable allowance. Upon closer inspection, I could see how much Tom had shaped her behavior. Though it had wounded me, there was no disputing the knowledge it offered. Lily, I believe you ought to go. I will not allow myself to be used by you or anybody else in this way. Her face was full of tears, but they didn't affect me the same way they formerly had. When her pleas failed to persuade me, she burst into wrath. You're just selfish, just like you always were, she said as she walked out, and her words sounded true in the silence of my flat. I got bits and pieces of news during the next few weeks. Tom had turned to alcohol as a way to cope with his injured ego, and Lily had moved to a new city, possibly in an effort to gain the independence she so desperately desired. Success and new beginnings became the norm for me. I got to know Michael, a colleague whose gentle disposition and quiet strength stood in stark contrast to Tom's aggressive manner. After a while, our friendship developed into love, and we were wed in a modest, joyous ceremony in front of all the people who truly loved us. I had grown stronger, wiser, and kinder as a result of the challenging route. I realized, in addition to losing a family, I had also discovered who I was, and with it, my opportunity at a fulfilling life and true love. I knew I had not only made it through, but had thrived, creating a triumph narrative that was all mine, and I felt ready for whatever lied ahead.